shows, one with a more secular reaction to the controversy that I'm embroiled in as it relates to Tyree Nichols, and then a more biblical point of view or reaction to the controversy that I'm involved in right now. Perhaps with Steve Kim, we'll touch a little bit today on the football championship games played yesterday, but I can honestly say I can't predict. I know where I'm going to start, and I know where this is going, where I want this to
Got a
go.
vision, got it to take.
I'm
You know
not
the
sure
rules. You
how
know how
long
the
it's going
fuck
to
we
take
play.
me to get there.
Jason
Buckle
Whitlock.
up. I'm going to explain my entire point of view. When we did the show on Friday, I hadn't seen, the
He
country
said
hadn't
some
seen the
things.
video of what transpired with Tyree Nichols Friday night. That was unveiled. I went on Tucker Carlson's show, had some things to say there, and then got wrapped up in this controversy about one of the three things that I said there. I've had time to think. I've had time to unpack this. I spent a lot of time this weekend writing down my thoughts. So
This
let's
is
get
the
to
cause
it.
of
I
madness.
hope
The
that
madness of
you enjoy
cause.
this. I do think
Let's
it will
hear
be
the
interesting
action,
and
the
enlightening,
reaction,
and
why
will
here, the cause and
hopefully
effect,
put
what's
what I
wrong,
said on
who's
Tucker
right.
Carlson in context and unpack a
Let's go
conversation we've
through it,
been needing
y'all.
to
Got a
have for a
vision,
long
got to
time.
table. You know the
So,
rules. You know
sorry,
how the fuck we
I
goddamn
refuse to
play.
follow the script. The
Let's
script
go.
black influencers demanded that the Tyree Nichols tragedy be laid at the feet of so-called white supremacy. 5 black cops beat a 150-pound black man to death, and the script called for more mass shaming of white people and insinuations that policing should be outlawed. Had I followed the script, I wouldn't be embroiled in controversy. Public enemy number one of Black Twitter, Sierra, and all the other blue check virtue signalers. In fact, had I dishonestly blamed systemic, institutionalized racism for Nichols' death, I would be the toast of Twitter, drowning in retweets, likes, and applause. I would be high as a kite on dopamine and swimming in interview requests. But that's not what I did when I appeared on Tucker Carlson's cable news show Friday night. I didn't lie. I didn't concoct some fantasy narrative where 5 black cops shouted, "This is MAGA country," before attacking Tyree Nichols. I blamed the 5 cops for their criminal behavior and predicted that a predominantly black jury will find them guilty of second-degree murder. I then criticized CNN and other media outlets for hyping the release of the body camera footage like it was Al Capone's secret vault and using the video to distract from America's escalating involvement in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And when surprisingly given an opportunity to provide an additional thought,
He said a lot. He said a lot. The people are protesting and acting in such manner due to the fact where the killing came from is on police time. It's on police watch. So people are not looking at the fact that these guys are black. You know, being an Uncle Tom and a bourgeois for master has been going on for years. So let's not get it twisted. Just because they're black, it doesn't mean that is not supported are backed by racial aspiration. Meaning, the money you make is on blood time and the death hands of black people. Like, the people y'all associate with, y'all do business with, break bread with, sit down, talk with, is on the blood hands times of black death, black people. Like, so yeah, they black men, but they're backed by they're backing by racial injustice motherfuckers, man. Just because they black, meaning it doesn't mean shit. They surrounded by that shit. They hang with it, they support it, they rock with it, they break bread with it, they drink at the bars with it. So yeah, when you a bunch surround yourself by a whole bunch of pigs and a whole bunch of fucked up white cops, you start to do what fucked up white cops do. That's just the reality. So don't put it off the fact, oh, they black, so this ain't a racial thing. It's deeper than it's a racial thing. It's a mental racial thing. You know what I'm saying? Because you gotta understand, these 5 black cops is around regular white cops for years and all types of stuff. You know how much shit been pushed in their head? You know how much negativity been pushed deep inside their skulls? And look at the reaction. Look how they act. But here's the reality. There's a cause and effect to why that man got beat the fuck up. And we gonna get into that. Gutter vision, gutter the tape. You know the rules. You're definitely not a fuck we play.
I argued that the 5 police officers mimicked gang behavior and that the whole sad event is a byproduct of communities overrun with matriarchal values and controlled by single black mothers. I said that the conversation we should be having in reaction to Tyre Nichols centered on the cost of destroying the black family. That's what I wrote down. That's my paraphrase, having given it a bunch of thought. That's what I tried to convey in the final 60 seconds of an unscripted 4-minute TV segment. YouTube has now classified my remarks as inappropriate and offensive. I want you to judge for yourself. Let's watch my comments in full here. Everyone's behaving inappropriately, including these 5 Memphis police officers. It's an open and shut case. The camera from above captures the police doing something totally illegal. The second-degree murder charges are warranted. This is going to be a revisitation of the Walter Scott, the guy that got shot on camera by a cop in the back. He got convicted, went to prison. It's an open and shut case. This is too. I don't get what people are protesting about. These are 5 black officers. The victim is black. The police chief is black. The police have been fired and charged, and they will be convicted, I would assume, by a predominantly black jury in a city that's 65% black. So the system is going to work here. What the other system that's working is the corporate media's insistence on promoting racial division at the behest, in my view, of the military-industrial complex. They want us all looking at this and not looking at what they're doing in Ukraine as they drag America and the world into World War III. This is a distraction, in my opinion. CNN hyped this video like they were hyping the Super Bowl. And there's really only 60 seconds of relevant content. You show the police misconduct from overhead as they brutalize this man and make it clear this is an open and shut case and the guys are going to be convicted, and we move on. They treated this like a Super Bowl, enraging people, promoting the violence, and this is the most important story in the history of the planet. It's not. What's going on in Ukraine and our military involvement in Ukraine, That's the most important story going on in the world, but
Yes,
they
that's
don't
right.
want you focused on that.
That is such a good point. And you would, I mean, you've been in the news business all your life, 35 years or something. I felt guilty putting that video on the screen, not because I was on anyone's side. I felt obviously bad about it. It was horrible. But because you don't want to put ugly things on TV and inflame passions. You want people to be reasonable and think things through and reach wise decisions. Why would news organizations, I mean, they really want to make people enraged, clearly.
They don't want us focused on reality. Hey, if they want us to devote an hour of coverage to this and weekend coverage of this, and they want to take us to a good place, I would examine the racial element of this, because there is a racial element. And this is a story about young black men and their inability to treat each other in a humane way. Everybody involved in this on the street level was either 24 to 32 years old. Everybody. It was a group of young black men, 5-on-1. Looked like gang violence to me. It looked like what young black men do when they're supervised by a single black woman. And that's what they got going on in the Memphis Police Department. They've elected or put some black woman in charge of the police force. And we're getting the same kind of chaos and disunity and violence that we see in a lot of these cities that are run by single mothers. If we want to discuss the breakdown of family that leads to disrespect for authority, that causes you to resist the police and run from the police and not comply with the police because you resist authority at all time, because there was no male authority in your home, let's have that discussion. But that's not where they want to take us. They want to take us down the path of saying, you know what, this is Tucker Carlson's fault. This is some random this is Donald Trump's fault. It's not. It's the breakdown of family and the buying in to all these left-wing things that have nothing to do with promoting family. That is the first time I've rewatched that clip. Everything that I said previously was based off memory, because again, a lot of times you go on these shows.
Hold on. That man said a lot. That's a lot. He said a lot. All right, let's break it down. All right. I see right. I see wrong. The execution that you try to execute to the cause of the incident you was right. You was wrong on how you choose to execute your choice of words. Let me break it down. Is the family structure fucked up? Absolutely. Did the government try to get the black man out since the early goddamn mid-60s? Absolutely. Is single mothers not being successful in raising our seeds coming up in society? Absolutely. It's a bad pandemic. It's like fucked up on that level. Absolutely. Is there great single mothers that raise good kids and they came up to be productive people in society? You have some survivors. You have a lot of those, and we gotta big up those black mothers that absolutely did it on their own. We know that there's millions of them out there. We cannot forget that. Big up to y'all. Absolutely. Take my hat off to y'all. But at the same time, we cannot act like the missing of the black man not in the home does not affect. We got to be mindful of that. Second of all, it's not always the woman's fault for being a single black mother. No female automatically just was like, oh, well, hey, I'm going to take that choice. Fuck that. I'm going to be a single black mother and struggle. Some do, but a lot don't. Some don't even have a choice. Some is just forced with it. So, when you speak like that, your man Jason Whitlock, you're gonna offend. And I understand why some people's offended, but I get how you try to execute. It's just the timing and the way it was sent was kind of wrong, but it's like you're wrong and you're right at the same time. It's like some Libra balance scale. Like, it's just, we're going to finish letting this man keep speaking.
And you just start talking and you don't know where the conversation is going to go. You don't know what the questions are. And literally, when I got up out of that chair and left the studio, I didn't think I said anything remotely controversial. I certainly didn't say anything that we don't talk about on this show constantly. That is my brain. That is what I spend all of my time talking about. Hey, are we out of line here? Is our family destruction, is that causing all of these pathologies that are hurting us? The only thing I would take back, and again, I'm just talking in the moment, I wasn't even expecting to get a second cut, a second bite at the apple to say anything. The only thing I would change a bit, a tiny bit, is creating the impression that I was talking about Cyril Davis, the police chief, as if she was some single mom. I was trying to make a bigger, broader point about unparented young black men in these inner cities and America thinking, hey, let's put some black woman in charge. She's going to correct it. That's what we have going on in all of these major urban cities where the illegitimacy rate, the marriage rate, the illegitimacy rate's at an astronomical high and the marriage rate is at an astronomical low. And women are in charge. We've fallen in love with the matriarchy. And it's created the kind of chaos that where black men are at each other's throats at every opportunity. So it's impossible to analyze a situation as complex as Tyre Nichols' tragedy in 4 minutes. What you try to do is spark a deeper conversation by saying something that will cut through all the garbage being spewed on social media and or promoted on ratings-hungry television networks. So I'm going to restate. My first comment was said to establish that a black police chief, black police officers, and black citizens would be in charge of providing justice for Tyre Nichols' family. What happened to Nichols isn't about white supremacy, and what will happen to his alleged killers won't have anything to do with white supremacy either. My second comment was stated to point out that the media is intentionally overemphasizing the importance of the Nichols tragedy. Our politicians are pushing us towards nuclear conflict with Russia. Millions of lives are at stake. I'm not trying to diminish the value of Tyre's life, but in comparison to a nuclear conflict, his life pales in comparison. I'm sorry, that's fact. Tyre Nichols is a local story, not a national one. It's being used to provide cover for more important international tragedies, such as, including Big Pharma's COVID malfeasance. The TV networks dependent on the advertising dollars of pharmaceutical companies prefer Don Lemon talking about lawless cops rather than lawless and exploitive international corporations. And then finally, my third comment, the one my critics have seized upon, is an attempt to spark a conversation about the real ramifications of America's growing preference for female authority and alternative family structures. The matriarchy, the celebrated matriarchy, it does not work, and we need to talk about that. Black urban areas are dominated by matriarchal rulership. It's an utter failure and disaster. These areas all operate similar to Memphis. Crime is astronomical. Young men settle their differences with deadly violence. Academic performance hovers at record lows. Illegitimacy rates skyrocket. Tyree Nichols was 29. The 5 police officers who participated in beating him to death range in age from 24 to 32. The behavior we witnessed from the officers resembles what happens when a group of vice lords, for those of you not hood knowledgeable, vice lords are a street gang popular in the Midwest and in some areas of the South. That's what happens when a group of vice lords catch a gangster disciple. If you're not hood knowledgeable, gangster disciples, very popular in Chicago and throughout the Midwest and other areas in the South. That's what happens when a disciple's caught on vice lord turf. The disciple will flee, the vice lords will chase, violence ensues. My point is, what we saw Friday night does not appear to be an outgrowth of bad policing. I'm going to explain. Don't lose your mind. What we saw, anybody with any street sense, any savvy, any common sense, any objective sense, anybody not caught up in racial idolatry, anybody that understands what's been going on, that was not bad policing. That was gang violence. We have yet to see video evidence that depicts what caused the traffic stop and why Nichols had to be snatched from his car. Again, if you watch the video, the stuff I saw, I watched a whole hour of it on CNN. I didn't see an explanation of, hey, why did they pull this dude over? Where's the video of the cops seeing this guy driving crazy in traffic? And if you've listened to Sarah Lynn Davis, the Memphis police chief, she has said, we don't have evidence, or it's been unsubstantiated, that Tyree Nichols was driving inappropriately. We can't prove it. We don't have the evidence. It's unsubstantiated. Anybody with a brain, it doesn't feel like we've been shown the complete story. Something about this encounter feels far more personal than anything born of the frustration created by a resistant suspect.
I said that when I watched the video.
To me, to my eyes,
I said
to my
that.
55-year-old eyes, the pepper spray, it just doesn't make sense. This is a 150-pound man, 4 or 5 police officers trying to restrain him.
I said that.
And they got to resort to pepper spray in the face repeatedly? When have we seen
Mind
this?
these cops is like
This
200 pounds plus.
6'4", 260-pound George Floyd. They never pepper sprayed George Floyd. He was 6'4", 260 pounds, and powerful, and a legitimate threat. They're pepper spraying this little 150-pound guy who's putting up very little resistance. And I kept looking for, am I seeing body cam footage of the actual officers that are doing the beating? And it didn't feel like that's what I was seeing. Maybe I just haven't watched enough. But I watched an hour's worth of coverage as CNN unpacked this whole thing for an hour on Friday night like they were going into Al Capone's vault. And I kept asking, where's the body cam footage of the actual officers so that I could understand what they're dealing with? I hear voices, I hear shouting, but it seems so dark, and maybe it is their body camera, but it seemed so dark I couldn't see anything. And I keep, put your hands out. I keep hearing people scream, put your hands out. I'm like, they got a 150-pound guy and there's 5 guys and they can't get this dude's hands behind his back. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. This feels like, this is what my gut tells me. This feels like an outgrowth of a rotten culture. A culture where black men are canonized and celebrated for handling petty beef and disrespect with lethal violence. That type of emotional violence is commonplace within zip codes dominated
The cause
by the
and
matriarchy.
effect is
Tyree
next.
Nichols cried out for his mama for a
Part
reason.
2, Gut
I'm
Entertainment.
not saying that to belittle
No.
Nichols. I'm saying it's a
Fucking
reflection
play.
of modern black culture. A culture
Get in
that
line.
inappropriately places women
rules.
at the top of the food
Part
chain.
1, y'all.